it's Upman Joe, and today I'm going to unbox and review a Scuf One controller. Now, I actually purchased this controller from a friend of mine. As soon as he got it, he didn't really like the feel of it and where his finger sat on it, so he sold it to me at a highly discounted price. As soon as I got it, I actually realized it didn't have all the features that I would want on a Scuf controller. So I called them up and they said yes, so I could mail it back to them, add on whatever features I wanted, and then they would mail it right back to me. And we'll get into that whole process a little bit later on. I'm going to review the product. I'm going to discuss all the features that I like on it, what I don't like about it, and then also compare it to a standard Xbox One controller and one that I have modified myself to have tactical buttons on it. So let's get into the unboxing, the features on the controller, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more. Okay, so let's get into the actual unboxing and review of the controller. Like I said, this is the Scuf One controller. And when you first get it, you just simply slide this box off, take off the top, and you'll have instructions here on how to adjust your trigger stops. Now, they're adjustable trigger stops, so the main reason I wanted to try a Scuf. It's a feature that no other company sells, and I haven't figured out how to make without actually drilling holes into the controller itself. This Allen key here is so that you can remove your paddles and replace the paddles if you want later. And then once you open it up, take off that card, you have your controller. Now this is the optic controller. I do like the look of it. It's got a nice matte finish, but it does mark real easily, and I'll show you that in a minute. They give you a few tools here. And in here you're going to have a little pry tool to take off your Scuf grips or your regular black grips if that's what you have. A T8 security Torx, which is, this is to remove your trigger stops. They give me a keychain, a set of batteries. If you get the adjustable trigger stops, this is a 0.9 millimeter Allen wrench. Now this is very small. I was really worried I was going to lose this. And I found that the 0.9 millimeter, you can see how small it is there, is actually not available in stores that I've looked locally. I looked in all my hardware stores. None of the sets come with a 0.9 millimeter. What I did find out is this is actually the same thing they use in RC hobbies, like helicopters and stuff. And so I went online on Amazon and I purchased one of these, so it's got a nice little handle. I won't be able to lose it as easily with a 0.9 millimeter. You can see it says 0.9 on here. Now these are about $29, $30 in a local hobby store, but I found it for $1.19 on Amazon. So I highly suggest picking one of these up, and I'll put a link in the description of where you can get one. And it'll make it much better than having to worry about this little tiny Allen key. And they also give you a set of batteries. Okay, so let's get into the controller itself. We'll push this stuff to the side. Now, like I said, this is a Scuf controller. It's a Scuf One controller, rather. This is the optic. It's optic green. The features that I have on here, the main features are it comes with blackout buttons and the Scuf gaming, the optic gaming logo for the LED, which is still white. They don't allow you to change the color of that. When I sent it back to them, I had them add on the Scuf dome thumbsticks. I do like domed over concave. The reason that I wanted to get the domed ones is because I found with the regular Xbox 360s, using them with Control Freaks, with this matte finish, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but you can see right up here on top, right about where this hits, there's a little black Scuf mark there. And what was happening is the legs from the Control Freaks were kind of rubbing up and marking it. It's just a cosmetic issue. It doesn't affect the way it works at all, but I didn't want to mark that up more than I needed to. Now, the problem with the dumb thumbsticks that I found now that I have them is that the Xbox 360 Control Freaks, if you use Control Freaks, are too big. They move around and you can't use them. The Xbox Ones don't fit over it, but I did find that the PlayStation 4 ones fit perfectly. So I have a PlayStation 4 one, and just all you gotta do is snap it on here, and once you get it on, it's a nice snug fit. It does take a little bit to get it on so it's even. It fits perfectly. So my plan is to just use the Scuf dome thumbstick on this side because I don't need it very high, and then use the Control Freak on this side. So again, if you buy the Scuf domed thumbsticks, they do have a nice texture to them. They are a little bit bigger than the regular Xbox One ones. And you want to use a Control Freak, just buy the PlayStation 4 Control Freaks. Okay. Now, on the back, I did add on to the Scuf Pro Grips. I like the way they're textured to fit your fingers. Your fingers just kind of slide in there. I purchased the white ones, and of course, as soon as I ordered the white ones, green ones came out, so I'm actually going to change those over to green. And it has 4 paddles. Now, when I first got the controller from my friend, he only had 2 paddles, but I really did want 4 paddles. I figured if I'm going to have a Scuf, I want 4 paddles because we don't know what kind of features are going to be in the new games as they come out in the future, so why not have them, especially because this controller does have the electromagnetic remapping. Okay, now, the tool that they give you is a little pry tool so that you can take off your grips, which if you want to change out your grips or if you want to adjust your trigger stops, you're going to need to do. And what you're supposed to do is just kind of slide this pry tool in here and pry up, and they come right off. Now make sure you don't use a screwdriver or anything because you're going to kind of break the plastic. But what I found is really once you've taken them off a couple times, all you need to do is just kind of stick your fingertips in there and they pull right off. Now one of the main reasons that I wanted to try the Scuf is these hidden trigger stops. Now if you've watched my other video, I did show you a video on how you can make your own trigger stops. But the Scuf ones are also hidden, and they're removable with a screw. You simply use a T8 security Torx and just put it in here, and you would unscrew these. But these have an extra feature, and what the extra feature is it allows you to adjust where the trigger starts. Okay, see, if you look on a normal Xbox controller, on the normal Xbox One controller, you can see the distance that this is traveling to fire. You go from all the way up to all the way down. Okay, now on Call of Duty Ghost, the trigger actually fires right about here. So what the trigger stop does is make it so you only have to come to here. Okay, so if you look on the controller that I modified with my leather trigger stops, I have stopped it there already. So if you look, that's where it stops because that's where the trigger actually fires. But I'm still traveling a pretty decent distance. So what happens is with Ghost, the guns actually don't start firing until the trigger is here. So all you really need to do is go from here to here. Okay, so the Scuf controller allows you to adjust the starting point of the trigger. And I don't know how well it's going to pick up on the video, but you can see how the trigger is already starting in. So now all I have to do is just touch it to make my fire. Now the way you adjust them is you take your little Allen key, your 0.9mm, and you put it into this little slot right here and you turn it. And I'll try to do this, but I don't know if the camera is going to pick it up. And you'll see that if you turn it counterclockwise, the trigger starts moving out so that it fires at the higher ratio. See, now it has to travel a lot more. And if you turn it clockwise, it starts depressing the trigger in. And all I have to do is get it to that point where the gun just begins to fire, back it off a little bit, and now this is all I have to do. Okay, and this is great with a gun like the MK14 or a shotgun or a pistol where you want to rapidly fire it. Just pull out my security Torx. And now all I have to do is literally touch my controller trigger to fire, as opposed to a normal one where I have to constantly do this. And again, just to give you a comparison, that is my normal travel with a regular trigger stop without the adjustable hair trigger. Okay, now the other feature that I really like about the Scuf is the electromagnetic remapping feature. Now the electromagnetic remapping allows you to take this little magnet here and you simply put it here on the back, and then all you have to do is press one of the paddles and then any button you want to remap. And it allows you to make that paddle control whichever button that you're going to press. And that's great because in the future we don't know what games we're going to have and, you know, which buttons we're going to use the most. For example, you know, on Advanced Warfare, they're going to have a dash button, so you may want to have this be your dash and this be a jump or a run or a knife or whatever buttons they're going to require so you can move it around. So if you are going to purchase a Scuf, I highly suggest getting the remapping feature. They did tell me that once you purchase a controller, it's not a feature that could be added on later. So it's either get it when you order it or you never have it. So make sure you spend that extra, I think it's $25 to add it in. It's a feature you're going to want to have in the future. Now, something I don't like about the Scuf is the fact that if you're like me, I always liked the Energizer batteries for rechargeable, but you have to change out your back battery door. With the Scuf One, you won't be able to use those. If you want to use rechargeable, you're going to have to use the Play and Charge battery from Xbox itself. Now, the one thing I will say is I would definitely use a rechargeable batteries because as far as a negative on the Scuf, these paddles are plastic, and I can definitely see they are going to break. And this is the Optic Scuf, and I know that you can buy new paddles from Scuf, but I don't know if you can buy new Optic ones. So I have a feeling if you replace these, they're not going to say Optic anymore. I don't know if it's something that means a lot to you. I really don't personally care, but you're purchasing an Optic Scuf, and I don't know if you're going to be able to actually get new paddles that say Optic on them because they aren't available on their website. But when you take your battery door off, it's kind of tricky to get back in because you don't want to bend those paddles, so you kind of just got to find the right way to kind of push it in and slide it in. So it's definitely a feature that concerns me. Another feature that I'm still not completely sure if I like is the position of the paddles. Now, from what I understand, they have re-engineered these paddles. Originally for the Xbox One, these were straight on the outside. They were straight, and you can look in here and see they have kind of angled them out so that they're more of where your fingers sit. But you got to touch them with just the tip of your finger. You kind of got to learn to take your finger and press it in this way. Okay, now if you remember on the controller that I did myself, my modification, I put the buttons right where my finger sits. And it seems to be a little bit more comfortable for me to have my finger here. I'm still getting used to the Scuf. So if that is something that you are concerned about, you may not want to have a Scuf. I would definitely tell you, if you have a friend who has one, go ahead and try his first and see, are you going to be okay with having your fingers up in the middle here in the corner of the grip, or would you rather just have your fingers sit more here? Sorry about that, the battery on the camera went dead, so I had to rechange it. So as I was saying, it's definitely going to take some time to get used to having my fingers kind of sitting in the corner of the grips. Especially if you're going to use 4 paddles, you have to now reach over. So these should definitely be buttons that you're not going to use a lot, but don't want to have to take your thumb off. And as I've been playing, I still find myself hitting this button sometimes. The way I actually have this set up is, this is my jump button for Ghost. This is my drop button, which I seem to use okay. I definitely was dropping a lot more with the buttons on the handles themselves, on my grips themselves, so I'm getting used to pressing in on the tip of my finger. So again, this is jump, this is drop. I have this as reloading my weapon, and I still find myself kind of just hitting reload like this, and I'm trying to train my mind, which I guess it's just practice and training of reaching over and doing this. And then this is my swap weapons button. Okay, I definitely would not change one of these inner paddles to something you use a lot, like dropping or knifing. If you don't jump a lot, maybe you want to make this a knife, and you know, you can use this as a jump, but it completely comes to your playing style. Okay, so that again is a feature I'm not quite sold of, but again, it's probably just something you need to get used to. I do really like the grips, though I think the white are going to get dirty very quickly. I don't know how to clean them. I don't know if there's a cleaning solution you can buy, or maybe you can put them in the dishwasher. I found a lot of times with white things, a great way to clean it is to put it into like a little glass of water with, believe it or not, like a polydent, like a denture cleaner, and it usually kind of cleans that stuff right up. Okay. Another feature, again, I love the dome thumbsticks, but if you want to use Control Freaks, you got to use PlayStation 4 Control Freaks. The optic, I love the matte finish. It feels great in your hand, but it is going to mark up very easily. So those are some of the features that I have on here. Overall, it's a great product. So let's get into some of the things that I like, some of the things that I don't like about ordering from Scuf. Okay, so that's the controller that I have. Now let's get into whether or not you should get a Scuf. And I know a lot of reviews don't really talk about it, but we're going to get into that. It's going to come down to personal preference and budget. Now, keep in mind, Scuf controllers are very expensive. If you get a brand new controller from them, a basic black controller, you're probably going to pay about $190 with most of the features that you're going to want, all the way up to about $260 if you're going to get like a T. Martin or an Allier or any of their custom controllers. It comes down to what you really want to do. Now, Scuf does offer an option where you can mail in your current controller and they do what's called Scuf It Up, but I don't think it's a viable option. And the reason that is they don't allow you to add many features. For $60, you can mail in an Xbox One controller. They'll put 2 paddles and change the thumbsticks. You don't have a choice in that. You can't add 4 paddles, and you have to use the Scuf concave thumbsticks. They don't allow you to make it domed or keep the Xbox 360, the Xbox One ones or anything like that. They only allow you to put on the Scuf Pro Grip. They don't allow you to choose even what color it is. They don't allow you to add on the grip on the back if you want it. And they give you the option if you want, you can put on the trigger stops. And for those 3 things, the 2 paddles with the thumbsticks, the Pro Grips, and the trigger stops, you are going to pay $90. But they don't allow you to add the electromagnetic remapping, which I think is one of the best features that they have. And again, it's a feature you can't add later. You can't change the color. Any of those features that you probably are going to want on your Scuf controller. So now we're going to get into, you're going to want to get even a basic black one, you're going to pay about $190. Some of the features that I think that you really need to have, I like the thumbsticks. If you want to have, you don't like the Xbox One thumbsticks like myself, they charge you $6 for each thumbstick. The electromagnetic remapping, they charge you $25. And again, as I said earlier, if you're going to buy a Scuf, make sure you get the electromagnetic remapping. It's a feature they don't allow you to add on later. And we don't know what the future games are going to hold. You don't know which buttons you're going to use most on future games. So I would definitely get it now, because their policy is get it now or get it never. Pro Grips are something that you can add on later if you want, and you don't even have to mail your controller back into them. And I think they charge anywhere between $15 to $17 depending on what color you get. The trigger stops, again, are something that I would definitely get. I think it's one of their best features. If you want to add them on later, though, just keep in mind you have to mail your controller back. They tell you 3 to 5 days, but it is much longer, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then the LEDs and things like that, again, that comes down to personal preference. So you're going to go anywhere between $190 and $260 depending on which controller you end up getting. Now, as far as the company itself, they make a great product. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great product. I really like it. If you don't want to spend the kind of money that they're charging, I highly advise you to either try to make your own controller or find somebody that you know that has a little bit of knowledge of soldering and have them make it. I have a great video on how to add buttons if you don't care about the remapping and things like that. But a company itself, their customer service is absolutely horrible. If you order a controller from them, you're looking at 3 to 4 weeks. Regardless of what the website says, you're looking at 3 to 4 weeks. My son ordered a T. Martin controller from them. It sat in printing the order for about 10 days. Then they finally made it. It sat in shipping for another week. It took him about almost 4 weeks to get his controller. As soon as he got it, there was hot glue all over the trigger stops, and they put the wrong paddles on it. They put like Phase Rain paddles instead of T. Martin paddles on it. It had the wrong color grips on it, so he had to mail it back, and now he's looking at another 2 to 3 weeks without his controller before he gets it. So their customer service is horrible. I mailed them in my controller to have them add the extra features I wanted. They told me it was going to be 3 to 5 days, and then they'll mail it back. And I looked at them, it was like $20 to add 2 paddles, to change the thumbsticks, and to put the rumbles back in. I didn't think it was that bad of a deal. It was only going to be a week, and I already had my own controller, so I didn't really care. Problem was, after 14 days of it being there, I finally got an email saying that it shipped. I called them back up the next day. Can I have a tracking number? They told me that we can't find the tracking number, but don't worry, you're going to get it at the beginning of next week. Monday comes, Tuesday comes, I don't have it. I call them back, and they said to me, oh, we don't know where it is. Here, oh, we found a tracking number. So I called Federal Express, and Federal Express told me they never received it. I called back again, and again, every time you call, you're on hold for 30 to 45 minutes before they pick it up. And the girl basically was very nasty with me and said, it's kind of not our problem. So I called back, got a different person, and he said to me, I think I know what happened. What happened was there was no quality control sticker on the back, so we took it out of shipping, sent it back to the workshop, and they've put it down somewhere and can't find it. The next day, he called me up and he said, I found your controller and we're going to mail it back out. And it took 4 weeks for them to add it on with very poor communication from their customer service. So just bear in mind, if you are going to buy a Scuf controller, you're looking at a long process and they don't have the greatest customer service in the world. Hopefully they're going to work on it because they make a great product, but their customer service is absolutely atrocious. You're going to have to hound them. Don't email them, don't text them, get on the phone and call them every day if you have an issue, because emailing them seems to not work. They don't email you back, and trying to go on Twitter or anything like that doesn't seem to work either. Make sure you actually call them and hound them, and you'll probably get the results you want. So just bear that in mind if you are going to buy a Scuf controller. Great product, horrible customer service as far as I'm concerned. And again, my personal opinion. So, would I buy a Scuf? I probably wouldn't spend $250 for one. I got it at a highly discounted price, and I'll be honest, I paid $100 for it, plus another $20 for adding on the features I wanted, so for that, it's worth it. But I honestly have to tell you, I like the controller I made. I like my buttons here. I really do like my buttons here. Now, I'm forcing myself to use the Scuf controller because I have it. This is going to pretty much be my Xbox One controller for playing Call of Duty, and then I'll use my other controllers for games like Titanfall, and that's because of the hair triggers. I have them adjusted just perfectly for Call of Duty. So that's my video today, guys. If you like it, go ahead and hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and until next time, happy gaming.